Hi, and thanks for joining us on today's Voyager software webinar. Today's subject is how to approach the search for recruitment software, and we'll also be covering some of the things that you might wish to consider as part of that research process. Now, it sounds obvious, but before you start your journey, we'd ask you to ask yourself some very simple questions. What type of recruitment organisation are we today, and how might that be different in a year's time? Where does it actually hurt in our business, and how are we measuring the pain of our current processes? And what type of software deployment is going to best suit our business, and how might we be best paying for that? Also, what commonly goes wrong and why? And also, try to keep one eye on the software provider and not just the software itself. A little bit about me. My name is Paul Thompson. I've been working at Voyager Software for the best part of 20 years. Like many people here, I'm ex-recruitment. But during my time at Voyager, I've launched 5 recruitment CRMs in both the UK and overseas. And I've helped upwards of 800 recruitment companies choose their recruitment solution and implement those services. I also act as part of the Voyager Product Steering Committee, which helps me keep pretty close to what's coming around the corner. So let's get in the deep end. What type of recruiter are you today? It sounds obvious, but most people who are first investing in software are often a startup business. But when we are a startup business, we should keep a close eye on where we're going to be in a year or two's time. Are we a one-man band and plan on staying that way? Is there a lifestyle business? Do we plan on partnering with other like-minded recruiters? And is mobile working going to be part of the problem to deal with? Or are we a much more complicated, established recruitment brand with multiple branches, disciplines, and sector issues? If you can answer that question quickly, then fantastic, that's half of the battle. But do keep one eye on where you might be in the next 24 months' time. And although it seems like a long way away, it's well worth considering your investment in software might often be one of the biggest decisions you've undertaken. And sometimes it's taking at the start of a business's life when actually there's very little vision on the future. So keep an open mind as to what you need today and how that might differ in the future. Okay, so where does it hurt right now? If you're a startup, you might not have a CRM, and so it might be nothing but Gmail, Outlook, Excel, folders, LinkedIn, job posting, and who knows, maybe you've got an administrator helping you a couple of days a week. But that's a pretty expensive and slow way of working in today's market. We need to identify the pain and where does it hurt. It doesn't matter whether you're a one-man band or a multi-branch disciplined agency. We all have the same levels of pain, but just often in different areas. Also consider this, the owners and the managers of the business won't always be feeling the most pain. It's quite often the person answering the phone who can't get the answers. It's the sales guy who can't make enough calls, and it's the marketing department that's suffering the pain of poor quality data. So when you're starting your hunt for the next recruitment CRM, do consider getting the whole team involved and ask everybody for their opinion of what would be a perfect solution for them. Asking the team is possibly one of the best things you can do before you start your hunt for a CRM. For some departments, it might be something as simple as importing CVs and getting them on the database and the branding that comes along with that. But for companies who have a wider team and a bigger reach, something like harvesting is something that should be looked at quite closely in today's market. Harvesting is the simple concept of having a tool that will reapproach old candidates and ask them to re-engage with you. So having a tool that will chase for a CV after 12 months is a good idea, or a tool that will allow a recruiter to identify that a candidate is being ignored. Obviously, GDPR has changed the industry hugely in the last 24 months, and so any recruitment CRM that you're considering does need to pay close attention to the GDPR rules and how that can be seen as an opportunity for your business. In recent years, tech-savvy recruiters have also understood the benefits of targeted mail shots, PR, press releases, blogs, and obviously newsletters. But for that to really have a true effect on your business, you need proper, competent management reporting. And not in the traditional sense where you run a report and you dump it into Excel. We need to visualize that data so everybody knows what's going on every minute of the day. We shouldn't obsess over management reporting, but it should guide our business and decisions. And quite often when you're searching for recruitment software, it's not given the thought that it truly deserves. And another fact that everybody will tell you in recruitment, try not to get bogged down with the admin. In the 20 years I've been working with Voyager, quite often get simply asked, I need something that's a bit easier, a bit faster, a bit quicker than what we've got. But before you're looking at speed, let's look at the processes. Because whilst it might take 10 seconds to import a CV, if you're getting 100 and 99% aren't any good, that's actually the thing to address. So part of the process for me is to ask yourself another question. What key areas of the business are you trying to improve with your new CRM? Speed is always a subject that comes up, but you need to define speed. Is speed a focus on how quickly you can search? And do you need to get from 50,000 applicants down to 10,000 and send a mail shot to everybody? Or are you trying to get targeted applicants from a short list of candidates into a phone list? So speed isn't about how quickly it takes a page to load. Speed is much more about the information that's displayed on that page once it's loaded. Accountability is another key area. Quite often recruiters take responsibility for their own actions, but not an awful lot of activities are being logged. So if your CRM isn't logging phone calls, emails, two-way SMS, Outlook invites, mail shots, read receipts, the list goes on, then you're not truly being accountable for your actions. You should be able to at a glance see how effective your marketing is, your cold calling, your hot calling, what's really working for you, but you do need to be accountable for your actions. Quite often it's overlooked that recruitment is a sales and service business. So you're not selling or offering a service, you're not going to be recruiting. Compliance rears its head more and more as years go by. 20 years ago, permanent recruitment companies had very little in the means of compliance. But even perm agencies now need to check out the candidates, identify them, photo ID. And if you're working in a sector as heavily legislated as nursing or care, a sector that we're very well known for, then legislation is very, very far reaching. And if not done properly, can have a huge impact on your business. Compliance needs to be at the heart of everything you're doing, not just from a GDPR perspective, but from a CIS workers, from certificates, from compliance. It's a key area to focus on. Actually, reducing costs should be a focus. If you've got 10 staff and you're working in a slow and laboursome way, it should be easy for you to implement a solution that allows you to not just reduce staff, but also the cost of the staff that you're employing. Now, investing in something like Voyager isn't about reducing the headcount. It's about keeping a business focused on what brings the money in. That means swaying the efforts from admin and data entry to resourcing and recruiting. Again, KPIs and management reporting are a key part of this. Recruitment companies often boast how their environments do not have a focus on KPIs. But the reality is that behind the scenes, somebody needs to identify what success looks like. And that can only be done by looking at the numbers. Also consider that a new CRM should actually help you increase your pipeline. A lot of recruitment companies have no idea what's happening in the next 3 or 6 months. But if you know that 50 calls results in picking up a vacancy and that your conversion ratio is 10 CVs to an interview and that a placement is out on average £50,000 if it's perm or £5 an hour if it's temp, then it does allow you to work on a pipeline. Also, a decent CRM will actually supply you with leads. If a candidate has left a company and joined another, then you have 2 opportunities, the company he's left and where he's going. If you're simply tracking who's working where, whether you're placing them or not, you'll be sure to have a much greater increased pipeline if you're running something like Voyager. One of the first things you should do is actually measure the stress in the business as it is today. Often it gets overlooked, but stress can take different forms. By stress, what we mean is areas of the business where pipeline or sales blockers are becoming an issue. Having too many CVs is often overlooked as being a problem, but if you're getting 100 CVs a day and you can't manage the response and the replies and candidates are calling in for feedback before we've even looked them, then we need to look at the job posting strategy that we have and also the cost of doing that. Are we posting too many jobs, generating too many CVs, and the quality is very poor? So having too many CVs can genuinely be a real problem for a business and cause a lot of stress. And also if the conversion ratios of CVs in versus CVs out to clients is poor, then we need to look at the CVs submitted numbers as well. Binned applicants are hugely expensive. If you're spending a lot of time talking to candidates that never amount to much, or the applicants are calling you before you've had a chance to review them, then binning applicants and the cost of doing so can be huge. One area of stress is simply the time to fill. Does it take you a day, a week, a month, or a quarter to fill a vacancy on average? And do you know? It's well worth looking at the time to fill ratios to see what can be done to improve that. The one thing that will certainly kill a deal is time. And so you need to be able to work quickly and effectively at each stage of that process. If it takes you 24 hours to confirm an interview, then you're doing something wrong. Having templates and workflows that ensure that when CVs come in, they're automatically thanked, when they're added to the database, registration packs and compliance documents are automatically sent out, and when interviews are arranged, booking confirmations, maps, directions and company literature is supplied in a timely fashion will certainly help the speed at which you can complete a deal. And closing the sale can be quite difficult. Are you providing enough information to the candidate to make an informed decision during the recruitment process so that when the offer is put to them, they accept it there and then? Or are you offering them an opportunity to take a step back and think about things? Again, time kills deals. Staff retention in recruitment has always been an ongoing challenge. One of the things that you can do is to ensure that the staff that work for you in your team have all the tools that they need to be as effective as they would be if they were doing it on their own. Starting up a recruitment agency is very, very easy, and the cost to doing so is very little. There's almost no barrier to setting up a recruitment agency in today's market. And so if you aren't making it easy for a recruiter to achieve their business goals, then it's quite likely at some point they're going to feel the need to move on. If they also hold the knowledge in their heads rather than your CRM, then it might be that you don't even notice when they leave. One of the things that we also encourage people to do when they're looking at recruitment software is actually to take a balanced view of the market. Quite often it's overlooked that many recruitment software suppliers are owned and part of bigger groups. If you take Voyager, for example, we're part of a much larger group with a number of different offerings. Tread carefully when you are asking for advice though. I would always encourage you to ask friends and family first and colleagues and peers, rather than going online and doing a quick Google search. There's nothing wrong with Google. We certainly rank quite well. We're normally on page 1, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best fit for the match. There are also upwards of 200 recruitment software providers in the market today. So even if you are looking at all of the suppliers on page 1, there's probably 3 or 4 pages worth of suppliers to consider. Also, when it comes to looking at recruitment software, tread carefully where you're going for that advice. There are lots of people who now position themselves as technology experts in the recruitment sector, but many of those people are on referrals and finder's fees. Voyager doesn't pay finder's fees, but quite often they will be on a referral basis. And many of those independent advisors will receive upwards of 15% commission. So do dig a little bit deeper. My advice is genuinely to speak to the likes of the REC, APSCO and Team. They're the closest things we have to professional bodies in our sector, and they should offer genuine impartial advice. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. What do we actually need to do before we buy our recruitment software? Well, I would ask you to focus on the absolute basics. Don't get too excited about the sexy bells and whistles during a quick online demo. Focus on what you need. Set your agenda and create a task of items that your system simply can't do without. Integration is something that's talked about a lot, but there's a big difference between third-party integration and integrating with a supplier that actually owns that technology. Take Voyager, for example. We integrate with a company called ISV, which we now own, which does skills testing. So if you're a high street recruiter and you need to test your candidates for typing speed, accuracy of typing, Excel tests, or even something as simple as Sage test, accounting tests, or driver awareness courses, then it's worth looking at whether the supplier themselves are providing the technology or it's a plugin. Integration also stretches a little bit beyond that in today's world. Does the CRM integrate with your phone? Does it integrate with Gmail, Outlook, Microsoft Exchange? Is it a modern technology that's going to deliver integration with Office 365, which is very much an industry standard now? Or do you need installed copies of software in order to get that software to work? Integrating to your job board, your website, your LinkedIn page, your social media channels. These are all things a decent CRM should provide. Data import's another big topic. Where do you get your data from? Most CRMs will manage CV parsing, but if most of your content comes from LinkedIn, notactivelylooking.com, Gated Talent or other CV pools, then what integration options are there on that platform? And try not to focus too much at this stage on budget, but keep a close eye on what you can afford. If your budget is £10, £20 a month, a couple of dollars a month, then it might well be worth holding off until your budget is a little bit more realistic. And the final thing is look at the legal requirements. If again you're in a heavily legislated market, then making sure that your recruitment CRM adheres to the minimum GDPR and compliance issues would be an absolute basic. Many recruitment CRMs are not born for recruitment companies. They are basic office databases that have been tweaked for recruitment. So sometimes the absolute basics simply are not there. Also, one of the things that I'm always surprised at is the amount of people that when looking at recruitment software will just simply look for the free solutions. Now, Voyager does offer a free trial, and so please do include us if you have a zero budget and want to take a look at Voyager. We'd love you to have a trial. But free software can literally blow your budget. Quite often it will take a number of months before you know whether that solution is right for you and your business. And again, in the early months, your requirements can change very quickly. If you're committing to a free piece of recruitment software, the way those businesses often work is to offer a tiny bit of functionality for free and to add on bells and whistles as your business grows. So actually, your perception might be that the software is free, but there's always a catch. Sometimes it's an add-on for CV parsing. Sometimes there's a limitation on the size of data. Many offer a very limited hosting amount. But also consider this. Free software is very difficult to exit. Once your data is in that free CRM, many won't allow you to extract your data without a fee. Even if there isn't a fee and it's free to extract, what are you going to do with the data that comes out? And will it truly give you all of your data back? One of the first things people do when they get their free software is upload their data into it. And from that point onwards, you're often hooked. So tread carefully with free software. It can genuinely blow your entire budget. Definitely create a checklist. Do consider a trial. Credit check your software provider. It might be great that they've got a nice website and the sales guy was lovely, but are they going to be around tomorrow? And if they've got your data, where will your business be if they disappear? Proper support in recruitment software is not a luxury item. If you cannot get through to the support department, if the software is not working and you can't do a search, it could be terminal for a recruitment business. So do dig deeper behind the software itself. Find out who uses the software in your sector. Ask for references. Do a credit check. Biggest isn't always best, but make sure the company you're working with is making money and they're transparent about their finances. Can you afford to get your data back? And in a usable format? Again, going back to the comments earlier about the free recruitment software. Sometimes once you put all your data in a system, you do that with confidence that it's going to be a long-lasting relationship. In fact, that's not often the reality. Most companies that are approaching Voyager have already invested in a recruitment CRM that they chose maybe a little bit too quickly. Maybe they didn't dig deep enough, or maybe their business has simply changed and it's no longer fit for purpose. But getting your data out from one recruitment CRM and putting it into another can be extremely expensive. There are some very, very well-known recruitment software brands who make it extremely difficult to extract your data. As soon as you ask for your data, then they are duty-bound to supply it. But what format is the issue? Are you going to get your data in a format that you can easily give to your next supplier and upload? Or are you going to be given hundreds of Excel spreadsheets with limited data and only one cut? If the new recruitment CRM needs to import your data as part of that migration process, then you will need 2 copies of the data, one for the new software partner to review and a second one to implement when you decide to go live. Otherwise, you could have a significant downtime between one solution and another. Also, when you're looking at recruitment software, consider this very simple question. Is the supplier you're working with ahead of the market, on the market, or looking at what was competitive 5 years ago? Technology in recruitment moves very, very quickly. And if you are going to be going into bed with a new supplier for a long period of time, it's well worth considering where their product roadmap's at. Do they share your vision of the future? And is it a journey that you wish to pursue for a long time? Perfect planning and preparation prevents poor performance. I'm sure there's a 7th P in there somewhere. But focus on the basics. When you're planning your recruitment software, get post-it notes, get the whole team together, Give everybody a post-it note and ask them to write their top 5 ideas on a piece of paper. Get them on the wall, make it interactive. Let's all work as a team, moving the paper around, defining what the workflows and the processes are and what are our priority items. One of the things I've always found is that when you do engage in the whole team, you'll often find that a much better decision is made at the end of it. Quite often those in charge, the management team, will make the final decision. There's nothing wrong with that, but it must be an informed decision. Commission helps as well. Do reward your staff by proper usage of that system. It sounds again a little bit obvious, but a new recruitment solution should be fun. It should be engaging. It should be better than the system that you had before. It should be a step up and invigor the team and get them back on the phone, back into work. Quite often a CRM is the reason why people haven't got the motivation to do the job. So how the data is presented is a real big issue for recruitment CRMs in today's market. It needs to be easy to use. Why not pay a bonus to the recruiter who makes the first placement through the system, but properly? Why not reward a recruiter for formatting CVs quickly? So why not make a bit of a game? So when you're implementing a recruitment CRM, that you have a visual dashboard on a wall-mounted TV to show who's using the system best. Try and embrace the change. Avoid fighting the change. Getting everybody on board is again at the heart of the decision. People should look forward to a new CRM and it should step them forward, not backwards. And try and be a leader when you're choosing the recruitment CRM. Try not to look back at how things were done in the past. It's amazing how many people don't want to let go of that system that they hated when they're faced with buying a new system. And so make sure that the new solution is sold to the team in a way that encourages them to think forward. Also, can you afford the divorce? Quite often it's very difficult to get out of a recruitment software relationship just because of the hassle, the pain, the time scales involved in doing so. So review the quote in detail. Build your long-lasting and perfect relationship. Read the terms of the contract. They will be small print. Make sure that you go into that relationship with your eyes wide open. Nobody gets engaged thinking they're going to get divorced, but divorces are expensive. So where does it go wrong? Not to highlight the negatives, but things do go wrong if they're not properly planned and prepared. Remember a few things. Transparent working won't please everybody in your team. Consider that if it's somebody's job to import CVs and post jobs, that their job is going to be dramatically changed. I've been to many recruitment companies where it is exclusively one person's job to put jobs on job boards and another person's job to import CVs. Implementing something like Voyager will have a dramatic impact on a team like that. But consider that in the future, the focus should be on making placements and doing recruitment and not doing admin and data entry. If you're working in a high volume temps business or even a very successful perms recruitment team, making extra placements, dramatically improving the sales process can put pressures on different areas of the team. Is your back office team geared up to manage double the business? Could you cope with 200 people on a payroll run? Or is 100 maxing you out? So do consider that an increased sales pressure and increased sales performance can result on increased back office pain. And what are you going to do with all this spare time? Now that you've implemented the best system out there, you've found the right product for you and everybody's loving it. Increasing sales activity isn't actually what everybody in recruitment wants to do. Some people quite like having a relaxed Friday afternoon and having a slow Monday morning. But some in your team will certainly relish the opportunity of earning more money and doing it more swiftly. Consider that company blogs and newsletters have a huge value when done well and sent out regularly. Why not consider that a press release or a monthly newsletter should be something that the business now prioritises? Many recruitment companies do a bit of marketing when they've got time, but reality is they don't have a lot of time, and so very little marketing actually gets done. Why not position your team as thought leaders? If you have a driving desk who's run by an ex-driver or a catering recruitment company that was run by an ex-chef, why not turn that person into a bit of a figurehead on your website, on your social media content, and use your recruitment CRM to get those messages out to your market? And so there you are. Hopefully I've not bored you too much, and hopefully I've given you an insight as to some of the things that I see go wrong. Quite often when I'm talking to companies about recruitment software, it's very, very early stages. I'm always keen to have a quick chat just to cover the basics before you dig in at the deep end. Don't waste your time looking at lots of recruitment software providers if you're going in blind. Take a step back and do a little bit of research. It's going to help the salesperson for that software company as much as it will you if when you're having your conversations, you've got an idea of what you're looking for. And so there you go. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for listening. You'll be aware now that you have my contact details. They're there on the screen. Simply pop me an email or drop us a line. We do often get asked for supporting literature off the back of these webinars, and we've got a bunch of documents we'd love to share with you. We have a white paper that is very easy to use with some key questions and summarises some of the points that we've discussed today. If you'd like a copy of that free recruitment software guide, drop me an email and we'll get a copy straight back to you. But my name is Paul Thompson, this is Voyager Software, and thanks for your time today.